Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Peter Cohen Show. I'm just going to do a nice little live talk about the news here. This is a fairly new article here. This one came out, today by the Associated Press. I'm picking it up from Newsmax. It's titled Civil Rights Agency Moves to Fire Judge Fighting Trump Directives. And I'm going to go ahead and read it aloud for you. It's going to be Barney style like that, so that's how I'm going to roll today. All right, so here we go. The federal agency tasked with protecting workers' civil rights has moved to terminate a New York administrative judge who has resisted compliance with directives from the White House, including President Donald Trump's executive order decreeing male and female as two immutable sexes. The U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, in response to Trump's order, has moved to drop at least 7 of its own pending cases representing transgender workers alleging discrimination. And it is classifying all new gender identity-related discrimination cases as its lowest priority, signaling a major departure from its prior interpretation of civil rights law. Wow. That's pretty crazy. The constitutionality of actually resisting undue executive power, which is limited, by the way. Presidents are not allowed to politicize the federal government like this at all. And part of the reason we have we try to eliminate conflicts of interest and politicization of the federal government, so the federal government can actually work for everybody. It is, essentially an equal opportunity, or it's actually mandated really by the Equal Protection Clause, I would say. Any constitutional lawyers, please correct me on this if I'm wrong in any way, but apparently its own interpretation of civil rights law, which probably takes its cues from the judiciary, is how the federal government's supposed to work. Presidents are not supposed to radically alter this by abusing executive power, which clearly Trump has done and has been doing as per the Project 2025 plan and Agenda 47. So very clearly, this is blatant executive overreach from the chief executive. This is a blatant abuse of executive power. Basically telling the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission to not at all do their damn job. I mean, that's all she's doing. She's literally doing her constitutionally mandated duty by resisting compliance from these very unconstitutional directives from the White House. I have no idea why anyone would think that these directives are constitutional at all. But anyway, we'll move on here. EEOC Administrative Judge Karen Ortiz, who in February criticized the agency's Trump-appointed head, acting chair Andrea Lucas, in an email copied to more than 1,000 colleagues on Wednesday, was placed on administrative leave, and also received notice. Overshot that there. There we go. Also received notice that the EEOC leadership sought to fire her, accusing her of profoundly unprofessional conduct. Apparently, doing your job is profoundly unprofessional, and doing your job despite wow, it's Swim's a hero as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, it's wow, this is a full weaponization of the executive branch and a full politicization of the executive branch. Boy, I'm just being really repetitive today. I'm a little sleepy. I don't know. Let's see here. But the article goes on. Of particular concern, your February email was ultimately circulated to multiple press outlets, potentially resulting in significant reputational harm to the agency. Okay, that's some gaslighting. According to the notice, which included a PDF of a March 10 article by the Associated Press about Ortiz, along with other materials. So it looks like the press said, hey, this administrative judge is not going along and actually going to do her duty. An EEOC spokesperson said on Monday that the agency had no comment on Ortiz's termination proceedings, but in its notice to Ortiz, the agency said its action does not pertain to the content of your disagreement with the agency policy, but rather the disrespectful and disparaging manner in which you have conveyed your message. Wow, that is some disgusting tone policing. That's what that is. That's just that is a go-to gaslight a tactic of the right wing. Always, always, always. And HR. Anytime you're ever dealing with an HR at work and, you even raise your voice or you speak, even as loud as I am because something could be intense, hey, you're being aggressive. They immediately do it's a verbal judo technique. Immediately, the tone police. Put the other person on the defensive. It's cops do it all the time, too. It's verbal judo. It's abuse. Verbal judo is basically just gaslighting. That's the whole. Yeah, that's all this is. It's tone policing, which is gaslighting. But it was the manner in which you did it. Now, granted, there are times tone policing matters. Sometimes if you do something in an abusive manner, it's not what you did, it's how you did it. Yes, that is definitely a thing. But in this case, no. they're telling her to do unconstitutional things and then lying about why they're actually this is nothing. This is everything to do with what she's doing and not how she's doing it. That this is just a blatant lie and a hideous gaslight from the EEOC spokesperson. Moving on though, in her, I'll just go ahead and highlight the. I'm gonna go ahead and start highlighting the paragraphs I'm reading. How about that? In her February mass email criticizing the agency's efforts to comply with Trump's order. Okay, now I can see why the tone policing was a flimsy justification, but I can see why they're using it. Ortiz wrote to Lucas that you are not fit to be our chair, much less hold a license to practice law. Well, if she's right, she's right. I don't know. Is that really tone police? Is this valid tone policing? But Judge Ortiz adds, I will not compromise my ethics and my duty to uphold the law. Okay, that's a declaration of doing one's job. Okay, the letter was leaked on Reddit, where it gained more than 10,000 upvotes. Many users cheered its author. Yeah, whatever. Those are probably valid upvotes. You never know who's a troll, who's a sock account or some form of phony, and who's actually a real human being operating a singular account as themselves, or some kind of pseudonymous proxy version of themselves, whatever, a valid contributor to the discourse, as opposed to all the trolls I feed on Facebook. The EEOC subsequently revoked her email privileges for about a week. Yeah, a little slap on the hand there. For about a week, and issued her a written reprimand for discourteous conduct. Oh, that's some freaking gaslighting. Oh, that's gaslighting. That is just some straight up tone policing. Ortiz's actions were cited in an April 18 White House proposal aiming to make it easier to fire some federal workers. Oh, yeah, that's not completely abusing the office. That's not a complete fascist takeover over the federal government, which is supposed to be independent. It's supposed to be led by the chief executive, but it's not. It's not a massive institutional outlet for. No, it's just not how the federal government works. It doesn't act on the whims of the chief executive. The chief executive is there to execute its policy is directed by Congress and is guided by the judiciary. And there's a whole set of checks and balances and buttloads of protections against exactly this, which is going after federal workers because they won't comply with horrible politics. And that's all this is. I have no idea how this is justifiable, frankly. I'm sure some conservatives may encounter this in comments, and feel free to comment, but I'm pretty sure you're going to comment some really ridiculous gaslighting bullshit. But go ahead, try to justify to me how any of this is at all constitutional. Anyway, it listed Ortiz as an example of bureaucrats who use the protections of the system, or who use the protections the system gives them to oppose presidential policies and impose their own preferences. That's a gaslight. They're just doing their jobs. It is their preference. They're imposing their own preference to do the job correctly, as per its mission statement, as guided by its own legal interpretations and as guided by the judiciary. This is wow. That is some projection. Oh, you're trying to impose your own politics on this instead of the president trying to impose his politics on the entire executive branch here. Oh, wow. All right, move it. Next one. Ortiz said she was unfazed after being called out by the nation's highest office. Trump just gave me an even bigger platform, she said in an April 19 message to AP. That's probably why they're really going after her. Escalate. That is one thing we will definitely be able to count on from the Trump regime. The EEOC has undergone tumultuous change since Trump took office. Yep, politicization and fascistic authoritarian takeover of the federal government. He fired 2 of the 3 Democratic commissioners of the federal agency in an unprecedented move that swept away what would have been a key barrier to his campaign to dismantle diversity and inclusion programs and protection for transgender and non-binary workers and other priorities. Of course. And, alright, we're close to the end here. One of the dismissed commissioners, Jocelyn Samuels, filed a lawsuit challenging her termination, arguing her removal was a violation of the Civil Rights Act that created the agency to be an independent and bipartisan protector of the rights of workers. The move also left the agency without the quorum needed to make key decisions. Oh, yeah, that was by design. Complete dismantling of the administrative state, which is what, well, the Heritage Foundation and the real rulers of our nation have wanted since that memo in 1971 or whatever. I forgot which Republican cat who, I guess, possibly went on to be instrumental in the creation of the Heritage Foundation put forth. But yes, it all traces back to this one rich dude's memo. Everything about Project 2025 is about 50 years old, or a little over 50 years old. But back to it. No quorum to make key decisions. Yep, shutting down the administrative state. But last week, Trump tapped an assistant U.S. attorney in Florida, Brittany Panuccio, to fill one of the vacancies. If Panuccio is confirmed by the Senate, the EEOC will regain a quorum and establish a Republican majority of 2-1. Clearing the path to make major policy changes, including revising agency guidance on how to implement existing civil rights laws. Oh boy, if we ever actually have elections and have a non-fascist in the chief executive, I hope they can just undo everything Trump did, executive orders, like a big sweeping unfucking of everything Trump's done. That's hopefully that's what we're gonna have soon. Hopefully in the next, hopefully starting with this odd year election, we'll start the unfucking, and hopefully get some recall elections. And frankly, I want a lot of elections audited, because I have doubts to the free and fair, the freedom and fairness of, well, the last election. It's too much evidence of fraud and interference. So I'm not coming to any conclusions other than that there was definitely fraud, and I don't think these results are good or are valid. But obviously, far more evidence needs to be, unearthed and revealed. So let's see here. Next paragraph. Since February, Ortiz said she has continued to raise the alarm and convey her opposition to the agency's actions, including in an April 24 email to Lucas and several other internal email groups within this with the subject line, "If you're seeking power, here's power," and a link to Tears for Fears' 1985 hit "Everybody Wants to Rule the World." Great song. Man, that song, HBO was right to pay for the rights to that song to have the Dennis Miller show open with it. That actually kind of set the stage. That made his show work. Dennis Miller used to be decent. Used to. All right. Taking the lyrics, Ortiz wrote to Lucas. Ponder what you're allowing yourself to be a part of. Her ability to send emails was again promptly revoked. Wow, just outright fascist scumbags. Anyway, Ortiz said she plans to fight the termination and is strategizing with her attorneys and union on how best to respond. She may reply to the dismissal notice within 15 days and has the right to request a time extension, an attorney, a union representative, or another representative of her choosing, according to the document, which was acquired by the AP. A final decision will be issued after the reply period has passed. "I've been quite a thorn in the agency's side," Ortiz said Monday in a phone interview with the AP. "But it's warranted." All right, there we go. AP article. I don't think it says the original individual human being author of this article, but Associated Press, and found this on Newsmax. So anytime you're talking to these conservatives that are in their information bubble, their Delulu bubble, tell them to actually read the damn articles on FoxNews.com and Newsmax.com. They actually will, and sometimes have their own journalists do decent journalism, and they will, post AP and Reuters and other articles from other reputable sources. Of course, they'll also post a lot of bullshit, and of course, their own articles. They'll do good enough journalism, but they'll have a very misleading and sensationalistic headline, which completely reveals bias. And of course, when your Fox News viewers go to the website, they just read a very misleading headline and then go, well, that's what happens, and not actually read the article, which may actually contain decent journalism. So that's there's a picture of her. She's a hero in my opinion. Yep. Yeah, it's wow. Justify this, right-wingers. Justify this. Besides, well, it's the president, and he said so, and he has ultimate authority because we all want a dictator. No. Quit looking at Trump as a dictator. Look at him as he holds the office in the same way Obama held the office. Which, by the way, Obama used executive privilege like twice, and you guys lost your minds. And it was on very minor shit. And you people lost your fucking minds over and over him using privilege. It's literally called executive privilege, and you wouldn't let him do it. But Trump completely disregards the fucking Civil Rights Act. You want to be honest, this is the Civil Rights Act that Trump just took a big fat shit on and is trying to fire a judge that's keeping him from firing government workers. Remember, Trump's Project 2025 cronies said, and I think it was Scott Bessent or it might have been Vought, said that they want to traumatize federal workers. They want to traumatize the people we pay with our tax dollars to serve us, to provide for us excellent government services. And from what I can tell, that's what these people do. It's, you're going to have your government inefficiencies and your waste and sometimes your administrative bloat and all that stuff, but they're firing and fucking over the actual people who make our government run well. And I hate government. I got a love-hate relationship with government. I'm very, I get agitated with governments all the time. But on the flip side of the coin is government justifies its existence regularly. And these are the people that actually justify why it's good to have these institutions. And basically, Republicans love to get into power, run the government, and then say, oh, government sucks, and then prove it. And now they're doing it by completely trying to dismantle the administrative state. And, that's It's unfortunate, and I don't know how anyone who's not juiced into the oligarchy who would actually benefit from this would want to support this, or what's in it for them. Your average MAGA, this is not good for you. This harms you. You may think you're being helped out and that we're getting rid of wokeness and there's two genders, penis and vagina, or whatever. It's two genders, male and female, which is stupid. Those aren't even genders. Those are biological sexes. Feminine and masculine are genders. Anyway, and just some pretty criminal and very unconstitutional fascistic authoritarian overreach by our questionably legitimate chief executive. And yes, I question the legitimacy of Donald Trump's election to the presidency. I believe it's utterly in question. I would put money that Kamala Harris, if we could crystal ball the shit and know for sure, I would put money that Kamala Harris won the damn thing and won it pretty sufficiently, and may have actually destroyed Trump, but somehow the statistical anomaly of Trump getting all 7 swing states, everything's suspect about it. I do not accept the results of the election. I don't have it. Matt Dillahunty called me out. But this isn't the just asking questions. I'm not jacking off here. There's a fuck ton of evidence that warrants a lot more investigation, and a lot of and there's a lot of evidence converging that is showing that we need to do a full stop and a bunch of audits. And we also have to stop the Republicans from permanently enacting more measures to suppress votes, because I really think that Donald Trump is, I would put money on it that he was not legitimately elected, neither through the electoral college nor the popular vote. And everyone keeps saying, oh, well, the Democrats just didn't have the turnout. Well, I'll bet they did have the turnout. I'll bet that margin is vote suppression, and possibly even outright changing votes. We don't know. There's a lot of secrecy going on, and there is much reason to do some serious sleuthing and to do an outright complete audit. That's yep. Especially because them stealing the election, if they did, and I know that they tried to, they did suppress votes. Was it enough to steal elections? Don't know. But their election theft attempt, I definitely say that they wrongfully purged ballots, they wrongfully purged registrations, and they did every other election vote suppression tactic known. So they did try to steal the election. That's, to me, I will conclude with, that's a conclusion I will make. A factual positive claim. A positive claim of fact. I conclude that they did try, make a serious and significant attempt to steal the 2024 election. Do I have enough evidence that that's exactly what happened and that this election is Kamala's? No. But there is going to be more evidence forthcoming, and there's definitely evidence of cover-ups. So there's just so much smoke. There's outright fire. Now, is there enough fire to say, nope, Kamala won it? I'd put money on it. Damn right. I'm sure. I'm fairly sure of it. I just can't prove it, and I don't have enough. And, Matt Dillahunty was really right to call me out on that thoroughly. But I still make the positive claim that enough vote suppression was performed, enough other electioneering tactics were in play to completely have every reason to question the results of this election. I just don't think we have enough to fully and confidently state that it was stolen from Kamala. Although I'm going to do it passively. Yep, I really believe it was. I cannot positively prove it, though. So that sucks. It sucks not having access to the evidence that's probably out there. But it's the world we live in. This is a wonderful hero right here. Administrative Judge Karen Ortiz. So, wow. look at the ads here. This is on Newsmax.com. Healing through Christ. Wow, just everything is Bible has secrets that can heal your trauma. Wow, that's manipulative. We're all traumatized. Everybody, especially after COVID. America is, in the world, is very collectively, thoroughly traumatized. With that in mind, whoops. I screwed that up there. Oh well. Thoroughly traumatized country we live in. And here are these religious parasites trying to say, hey, Jesus heals your trauma. No. Lots of therapy and time and emotional support from a really good social and familial support system is what heals trauma. Not Jesus. It's just hideously manipulative to exploit people's trauma to fill them with religion, which of course, money. You want your money. They had to pay for these ads somehow. But yep, Judge Karen Ortiz, true hero, true American hero. I think that's going to do it for me. I'm Peter Cohen. Feel free to comment. Maybe I'll get obsessive and respond to each one. Maybe not. Maybe your comments are stupid. Maybe they're worth responding to. I don't know. But please, if you're MAGA, justify this to me. Justify this constitutionally. Besides just going, well, he's the chief executive and we made him dictator, so there. Yeah, you got to do better than that. All right. Peter Cohen signing off. Have a good day.